Hi everybody, I'm Judy DiLorenzo with The Life Well Planted, and today I'm going to share my personal healing journey, how a whole food, plant-based diet restored my vibrant health. I had been sick for 10 years with severe neurological symptoms. I call it my decade of darkness. And during that time, these symptoms collected and got worse as the years went by. I had really bad brain fog. I used to tell people it felt like I was trying to think through pea soup. I had significant fatigue and alarming short-term memory loss. I had numbness and tingling down all four extremities that resulted in the growth of 4 fatty cysts, fibromyalgic type pains, constant cold sores, tinnitus, visual floaters, and I was having trouble with my legs, especially in the morning. They were so heavy, and it seemed like I couldn't get my brain to communicate with my legs each day at first. So I would lean forward and the gravity would actually get things moving. And one of the worst symptoms, one of the most alarming symptoms, I should say, were these visual hallucinations that I would have on the left side. And the first time it happened, I was in the hospital visiting my mother-in-law. So they admitted me thinking that I was having a stroke, did a CAT scan and a bunch of other tests. They kept me overnight. And in the end, they said everything came back fine. And I must have been having an aura similar to what people have when they get migraines. But I never got a migraine, and I've never had one in my life, although I did have these hallucinations at least a dozen more times. I think the turning point was when I couldn't remember the code to get into my own business. That's when I knew finally that I had to do something. It was a Saturday and nobody else was there, and I just couldn't remember the code. I kept trying different combinations, and then I just cried. I couldn't believe that my memory and my brain fog were that bad. I'm the one that had set that code. And as I said, these symptoms didn't come on all at once. They were very insidious. They slowly piled up and got worse over time. And because I was so brain fogged, I didn't do anything about it at first. 4 years slipped by. And then I was telling somebody at the health food store about my symptoms, and she suggested I see this Lyme literate doctor. So I went to see him, he drew the blood, and he did come back with the diagnosis of Lyme disease. I didn't know it at the time, but they don't see the bacteria when they do that Lyme test. They look at bands and symptoms, and then they make that diagnosis. But I don't think I ever had Lyme because he put me on antibiotics for 2 years. He tried different ones. He even added Plaquenil, and I did not get better. So I decided to leave the MD and the antibiotics behind, and I went to see a naturopath. Actually, what happened was my liver was getting so congested that I was starting to spontaneously gag. I wouldn't actually vomit, but I would get close. So I knew it was time to try something different. I went to the naturopath for 4 years. He also told me I had Lyme disease, and he prescribed plenty of supplements and herbs, but he never talked about diet. The medical doctor never talked about diet either, but he did a lot of energy machines, these Rife machines, and foot baths, saunas, colonics, that sort of thing. But I did not get better, and it was under his care actually when the left-sided hallucinations started. And then I somehow found Anthony William, who goes by the medical medium. Now, I don't follow Anthony nor his suggestions, and I haven't for many years because they've changed. But back in 2012, his suggestions were very balanced, and his supplement and herbal protocols were very modest. So he suggested I eat a whole food, plant-based diet, just like Dr. Campbell and Dr. Esselstyn and others that are promoting this style of eating for health. The only difference is he said I could have a little bit of olive oil, and he recommended I lay off corn and soy because of concerns of GMOs. But otherwise, I was eating legumes, whole grains, quinoa, vegetables and fruits and berries, a little bit of nuts and seeds, mushrooms, sea vegetables. 2 weeks into eating this way, my short-term memory returned, my brain fog lifted, and my fatigue disappeared. I kid you not, 2 weeks into the diet, I had that remarkable of a recovery. And then it took 2 years for the rest of the symptoms to drop off. I felt better and better as time went on, but it did take a full 2 years for everything to clear up. But in 2 weeks, to have my memory return, my fatigue lift, so I had energy, and my mind was clear, I could think finally. It was like a miracle. And then after 2 weeks, the herbs and supplements that I had ordered that had been suggested came in the mail. So I started those. It was a very modest program, just a couple of supplements and a few herbs. And I was on my way to recovery. But again, before those even got to me in the mail, I already was seeing such dramatic results. Now, I already knew how to eat this way because my husband and I had been vegetarians for 10 years back when we were in our 20s. And all these years, he's been growing these huge organic gardens, and I've been cooking from scratch. So I knew how to pull it off, and that's why I was able to get right to it. As a matter of fact, when I was younger, I was referred to as the health nut by my circle of friends, and I wore that badge proudly. The only time I failed in this regard were a few years prior to my getting ill. I had gotten sloppy with my diet. I was overly stressed. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was raising 3 kids, running a business, and I just wasn't careful. Fast food even slipped into my life, and I paid for it. Because I was brain fogged, I didn't catch on right away that I just needed to go back to my roots and use food as medicine. But look at what happened once I did. My body responded so quickly. It's just amazing. I'm so grateful, and I truly wish everyone could enjoy vibrant health. So you're probably wondering, what did I have? Well, I don't think I had Lyme disease because I didn't get well on the 2 years of antibiotics. I think I had a viral infection, probably the Epstein-Barr virus. There's been plenty of research, both in the past, even decades ago, all the way to present, that show there's a correlation between chronic Epstein-Barr and various neurological symptoms and conditions, including multiple sclerosis. So that's what I think I had. When both the MD and the ND tested me for Epstein-Barr, they showed that I had the antibodies, which meant that I had been exposed, I had the infection. I did have mono as a kid. Those tests don't show if you have a chronic condition, they just show if you've been exposed and developed antibodies, and it also could show if you have an acute condition, which I didn't at that point. I just had what I believe was chronic Epstein-Barr virus. So how did this whole food plant-based diet reverse my chronic condition? Well, there's 2 ways. First of all, when you're eating a whole food diet, you're not eating processed food. You're not eating preservatives, you're not eating additives, you're not eating crappy oils, you're not eating animal products. And I believe all of those foods were feeding the virus. So by eliminating those foods, I starved it out. And then in addition, the plethora of foods in the plant kingdom all have an incredible amount of nutrients, phytonutrients, antioxidants, etc. that were able to nourish my body and give it a fighting chance to be able to fight off this virus and restore my health. So my health was fully restored by 2014, 2 years into the diet, and it seems like I'm trying to make up for lost time. I've been so busy since then. I took the T. Colin Campbell Whole Food Plant-Based Nutrition course offered by eCornell and the Center for Nutrition Studies. I became a certified holistic nutritionist, and I've taken several herbal courses. I wrote a cookbook, From Chronically Ill to Vibrantly Well, Recovery Through a Plant-Based Diet. It's actually a cookbook and healthy eating guide. I updated my website and added a food blog. So my cookbook has 111 recipes and my food blog has just about 100 recipes. So I've been busy creating recipes, learning how to be a food photographer. I'm updating my YouTube channel. I plan on posting videos more often, possibly once a week. That's a good goal. I have plenty of different topics that I'd like to cover. And I've become more physically active. I first started by walking more, and then I bought a cute bike with one of those cute little ching ching bells and a basket and started riding it around my neighborhood. I turned 67 recently, and 7 months ago I went back to the gym, and I'm so glad I'm back. I love working out at the gym. I don't know why I ever stop. I tend to go to the gym every other decade. I don't recommend it. Just go consistently throughout your life if possible, but it's never too late to go back. And if you continue to watch me on YouTube, I'm sure I'll be sharing more stories about my exercise life and try to give you encouragement in that area as well. I hope this has helped you by telling my story from my heart. I hope it's giving you inspiration and hope. And if what you're doing isn't working, if you have chronic illness, and if what you're doing isn't helping, and you've been with it for a while, maybe it's time to change direction. Maybe it's time to try something new. I think in many cases, a whole food plant-based diet and addressing lifestyle issues can make a huge difference. And it isn't just my story. There are plenty of other people out there that have also seen dramatic results when switching to a whole food plant-based diet. And it isn't just anecdotal stories. There is research out there. There are many studies, some dating back decades, showing that a whole food plant-based diet can prevent and in many cases reverse very serious conditions like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, dementia, and more. Do you need to see the research with your own eyes? In my next video, I'm going to explain how you can access these studies and also why the doctors aren't talking about it. Until next time, take care and be well.